Doesn't matter what the press says. Doesn't matter what the politicians or the mob say. Doesn't matter if the whole country decides that something wrong is something right. This nation was founded on one principle above all else: the requirement that we stand up for what we believe, no matter the odds or the consequences. When the mob and the press and the whole world tell you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree next to the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move. What's up, everybody? Uh, with the final week of July, and I want to wrap up uh, July with uh, the United States of Captain America 5 issue run, written by Chris Cantwell. Uh, Chris Cantwell, Josh Trulio, art by Jan Bazaldua and Dale Eaglesham. I gotta tell you, like, I not only it's probably one of my favorite comic runs. That not only I love the story from start to finish, I love the art from start to finish. And it came out last year, celebrating 80 years of Captain America, and you get a lot of Captain America here. Almost every during the main 616 timeline, almost every uh, person who took up the mantle of Captain America is part of this. And I thought it was so dope. So dope. And it shows you the appreciation that you should have for all these iterations of Captain America. No matter what walk of life you come from, there's a Captain America for you. And it's not like U.S. agent is in this, and as much as we might like crapping on this guy, he's still technically a good guy, and still technically fight for his country, and does his fair share to save the world. So he has a place, despite the many jokes we have of the guy. I guess he's like the Captain America for like maybe people of the right, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. Anywho, the story begins with like Cap just reminiscing a bit, just noodling in his mind about what it is about like the American dream, and like what does it mean these days. It's like while he's just like cleaning his shield. 1 second here, phone want to freeze up on me. And he is just like like is going on with this dialogue about like how like what we call like the American dream is like what we interpret what it is today means entirely different for other people. Like that same old white picket fence that people tout about like warning, it's like also can be used to keep what some people call others out, which is something that he's not for. And it's like people who are like immigrants or the poor or like they view this country entirely different than like what it's supposed to be. It's something that he feels like internally he's not with. And it's like it bothers him how like people use his image in like perverse ways that he's not for. It's like either for like memorabilia or just like an excuse to behave like jackasses. It's the same way like how like I mentioned my Punisher reviews, how like they ignorant people like to use like the Punisher image or Captain America's image, thinking like they will, behave in this kind of manner or would agree with what you're doing, which they would not. The Punisher especially would not agree with certain people using this image to like do the kind of fuck shit that you see that going on. And sometimes they combine the two, where he's got a skull with like an American, flag colors on it, and it's like, Cap and Frank Castle would just like be livid. I'm just like putting it right out there. As a person who read a lot of, their comics, they will be livid about like, certain demographics using that to like oppress or hurt people. Especially, for a Punisher who use that kind of image to oppress or hurt people that don't deserve it. Just innocent people in general. And the Cap calls it like the American lie. But the one dream that he is all for is the one that is out of reach, that by and large people strive for, they try to reach for, and they may not get it, but like the willingness to try, the never give attitude to try to get to that point, that dream, he's all for. It's the same thing with like Superman. It's like, because the whole, because he still has, because like ever since I think like the last DC fandom, they took out the whole like they like he used to go by like Truth, Justice, and American Way. American Way is like gone by the wayside. I think like for the better, because like America has a nasty habit. At least we're acknowledging it. These days a little bit, probably since 2020, we're a little bit more acknowledging the fact that the American way doesn't mean the same thing with everybody. Our country is pretty much the most melting pot of them all, of the countries. And like you get all these different walks of life together. By and large, you do something great, but there's always like a little fringe group. They always, like cause like antagonistic amongst each other for stupid reasons. While he's, illuminating on this kind of topic in his own mind, somebody breaks in, jumps on Cap, catches him by surprise, steals his shield, and runs off. And I mean runs. He got apparently this person who's dressing like Captain America, but he's running at like super speed. So this unknown assailant, this thief, is taking off running with Cap's shield. Cap's calling Falcon. It's like, yo, I got somebody broken my place, took my shield. I'm trying to get on his tail, but he's moving kind of quick. He's heading and they find out thanks to Falcon, find out he's heading towards this train station, and utilizing Cap's shield, disrupt the tracks to cause like a crash. So Sam and Cap didn't stop the train, but they rescued everybody. The train like derails, but they managed to pull people out of the wreckers, and there was some injuries but no death, thankfully. But then some mysterious figure is in in the dust, and Cap is trying to hey, let's get this guy, but no. Come to find out, that's not the thief, is Aaron Fisher, the hobo Captain America, pretty much. Like he's the Captain America of the railways. And if you don't know who Aaron Fisher is, I think it was at least, if not last year, the year before, when it was a big, thing in the news where people lost their minds when I partially blame the marketers, because the way they telegraphed this was meet the new Captain America, Aaron Fisher, and it's like everybody starts running with it with the news, like, oh no, they made Captain America gay because it's like a homosexual man who takes up the mantle of Captain America and fights for like uh, the poor people and like people like especially, well, all people, but like his thing is like looking out for like the poor and disenfranchised, and especially like the LGBTQ plus community. And it's like, like I blame marketers because they should just, because they trying to like, oh, get people reading or looking into this or talking about us. And it's like, you could have achieved the same thing. You don't need to like cause like you don't think you was going to cause like a big commotion, negative commotion, by phrasing it in that way. But no, it's like meet the new mantle of Captain America, Aaron Fisher. But I guess they needed somebody to like, they needed all eyes on it, whether it's good or bad. And I hate that whole line about like, not all bad publicity. What was it? What's the line? It's like, bad publicity is still publicity, something like that. And it's like, no, it's fucking stupid. It's like, you don't want that type of publicity. Just show them like you got like a person taking up the mantle of Captain America, and he's part of the LGBTQ plus community. It's not. I'm pretty sure there's like a fair amount by this point, because he's only fairly recent. He's only been out like maybe like a year or two at this point. Because like at the end of each of these, at least like 3 of these issues of the United States of Captain America, you get like a short snippet of each of these other mantles of Captain America and their adventures and what made them take up the shield. And I thought that was pretty dope. You get like a short little little adventure where Aaron finds out about some people, disenfranchised people, like people on the streets who live on the streets going missing. And you find out it's kind of like the episode of Batman the Animated Series where Batman lost his memory and he's like in this little camp thing, and he's like managed to rescue everybody from this like this camp, and so Aaron picks up the shield, made his own shield and his own kind of hobo Captain America costume, and liberated all the bums that was like captured and put in this little like labor camp thing, and bust them out. He started becoming like the Captain America of the railways. He's always on the move, so you never know like where he's at, because like he's living on the streets. He's looking out for like like the people, like the poor, and it's like they got their Captain America, and you got like at the same time a person of the LGBTQ plus community, they got their Captain America, Aaron Fisher, and he looks pretty like a dope character. But I love the art. The art making like everything really like stand out, prominent. It's drawn so well. And it's like you get these little moments in the end where after Steve and Sam meet each of these characters, you get this little kind of like notes to each other describing their interaction with these particular guys. Is a guy like this, like he's originally from New York City, but note from Sam: this kid's hard to track down. He stays on the move, going wherever he's needed most, and doesn't leave much of a trail. Hopefully they'll keep him safe from whoever is looking for him. No, from Steve: he looks like he blow away in a strong breeze, but he's a scrapper. Took that gunshot like a champ. Just hope he's not in over his head. So yeah, there's like a sniper, some female shadowy figure took a pop shot, not at Steve or Sam, but directly at Aaron Fisher. Clearly, trying to, as you learn from this adventure, there's two mysterious enemies are luring out, because apparently come from Aaron Fisher himself. There's a Captain America network, pretty much like a fan club essentially, but actually doing some good for their community. And they were inspired by Steve and Sam from their moment picking up the mantle of Captain America. And so their plan is not only luring out these other Captain Americas across the U.S., because it's like a kind of cross country road trip kind of adventure, but they also want to make sure they not only kill these guys, or at least try to kill these guys, but also want to ruin the legacy of Captain America, so that way to prevent anybody in the future from picking up that mantle. Next, they're on the way to Pennsylvania, where they got wind of this other person who took up the mantle of Captain America, this woman named Nichelle Wright, this black woman from Pennsylvania, who was like a high school gymnast, like a great athlete, got like, great scores in school, got like, a real bright future ahead of her. But she's also like a protester, like you always want to fight for the common people, for her community. So she took up the shield of Captain America. Now, somebody, she got recently arrested and she's being labeled as like a domestic terrorist, which Cap was like, well, it's like no different from what I've been called a domestic terrorist, so maybe she's, not all bad. So they go down to where the incident happened, where she was accused of destroying this pipeline, but then they get ambushed by this mysterious woman and this mysterious speedster wearing the Captain America outfit. The lady ended up taking a shot and wounding Sam's shoulder, but because all the way you wondering about like since they got Cap's shield, what's he using? He's using this energy shield that Tony provided. Tony Stark provided a long time ago, but he kept it like a spare. It's kind of like a spare for him, just in case something happens. And he always got like a portable backup shield. It was like a hard light hologram kind of thing. But thanks to Steve's quick thinking, he managed to. There's one little cons I had about this run is it's like there's certain scenes, or at least panels, that doesn't explain like okay, like in this instance, okay, Cap's shield, holographic shield, is shorting out, and Sam is wounded. So Cap picks up like a broken piece of wood and with pinpoint accuracy chucks that thing and knocks the gun out of this mysterious woman's hand. And they decided, okay, the mysterious speedster picks her up and takes off. Okay, like technically you got him on the ropes while you just bugging out, but it's like it's like I really wish there was some extra panels to. Well, this is not a good example, but there's just certain moments like that where it's like, okay, there's an extra panel that needs to explain why they decide to. It's kind of, I'll say, it's hard to explain. It's not like they're rushing, but it's kind of like it's only 5 issues, so they. I appreciate they cut into the chase without letting things drag on you. It's kind of like the Disney Plus shows. Like you tell enough of the story that's required, even if it's making up 6 or 7 episodes. But anywho, they go to the police station where Nichelle is being held up, and of course, the police chief there is clearly fucking racist. Uh, and he's like, uh, he calling her like a thorn in his side, and it's like, like, what is this like? The pipe. A lot of people, important people, and they like to emphasize certain words so you'll know the context, the hidden context he's trying to use. The pipe that a lot of important people didn't want goes away now, and the police can't handle the streets without a loony bird Captain America thug crawling up their asses, and sounded like, and all it cost was one black woman, like, and this piece of shit like, hey, you said it, but not me. And of course, rightfully so, Sam grabs a hold of this piece of shit and then threw him out the front door. And Cap was like, probably better treatment than he would have gotten from the shield thief. It was, so, like, of course, like, none of the other officers there is not going to do nothing to two Captain Americas because they can clearly kick all their asses. But they go to the holding cell where only probably so far like one good cop is watching her, watching Nichelle. And he knew, like, what's happening to her wasn't right, but he's just trying to, like, do his best job he can. But Cap says like, "Oh, sorry about your boss," but like the cop was like, "I'm not." He got a smart mouth and a lot of dumb ideas. It was like, it's good, white people out there who, actually, don't see like the world in like these racist fuckers ways, and it's like, don't put up with that bullshit. So Cap breaks open her cell. Don't know why he didn't ask the cop to just unlock the cell, but whatever. But they trying to recruit her to, because she's in danger, in order to like help stop these thieves from, taking out all these other people who took up the mantle of Captain America. But she's, not with it. She got a community to look after, and I was like, thanks for breaking me out, but like I can't handle this kind of thing. But she's, not with the Grand, because like she kind of like those street level heroes, but kind of like the way Jessica Jones and like Luke Cage is like, it's like, you guys can fight your space wars or whatever, but like people here down on the streets, we got like, real problems that you guys clearly are too busy to deal with. So that's we got people like me to handle that kind of thing. So I'm not, with it. But they get like, something like out of the Terminator, the first Terminator movie, where he crashes the car into the police station. These two crooks comes barreling in with like a big vehicle with a big machine gun on top and start blasting inside. But thankfully, Cap, using his hard light shield, taking the brunt of all those bullet fires until it, the it goes empty. But clearly the female assailant doesn't want to make martyrs out of them, but she starts like unloading a flamethrower on Cap until she eventually takes off. Nichelle takes off, thanks them for the help, and she said like, "Oh, thank Aaron too. He's a good kid. You probably the same doggone age. Well, he's calling him a kid. Uh, uh, and she mentions like I believe in you guys. I respect you guys, but can't get involved in your little whatever it is you got going on. I got important stuff to deal with here. So then in the end, you realize like the female assailant is like the Red Skull's daughter. It wasn't a big shocker. Like you pretty much, after like the second or halfway through the third issue, you kind of figure that out. There's got to be, because Kat pointed out about her German accent. It's like, okay, you got to be Red Skull involved. It usually is. And then like the speedster turns out to be Speed Demon, not to be confused with the amalgam version called Speed Demon, who's like a combination of Flash, Etrigan, and Ghost Rider. But Red Skull's daughter, Superior, aka Sin, or her real name is Sin, but she wants to go by the call sign Superior, and she uses Cap Seal as like a way to hypnotize people. For some reason, that was confusing me. Like, I guess you can use almost any object, to like hypnotize people, but I don't know. It's just like I guess there's a certain trick to it. But clearly, they're using Speed Demon, who's already like a known rogue, like a bad guy. It's kind of like a B-level bad guy, not world domination kind of thing, but they're using him clearly. 1 second. Sorry. So yeah, Captain America of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So we get Nichelle Wright, and I love this. This is probably like a good art for her. Like, I'm loving the art in this, and the way they draw the cover art for a lot of these characters, and Nichelle, and you see later in the next issue Joe Gomez. Their art design is probably my favorite from these runs, and of course you get like a little bit from her. But first is like the little notes from Cap and Sam about their interaction with Nichelle Wright. Local gymnast star who walked away from a promising athletics career to become an activist and vigilante, fights with words and fists to protect her underserved community. Notes from Steve. Nichelle's ruffled a lot of feathers by speaking up about infrastructure problems in her hometown and keeping outsiders from hassling local businesses. She's making a lot of powerful enemies. I hope she's got backup to rely on if she needs it. Then notes from Sam. I'll be the first in line to back her up. Girl's a badass, and it's hard to try to bring about a better world all on your own. So yeah, nice little black female Captain America. How dope is that? Like, yeah, like, and I love the way she's drawn. And like, hope the MCU like utilize a character like this in the future, because she is dope as hell. Like a black female Captain America. I repeat, let me reiterate, black female Captain America. You get a short little adventure of hers where she's taking down a couple of thugs who is holding up a restaurant. It turns out to be like two people she knew from school who hassling activists and protesters, and one of them got a gun. So she comes to the back door and takes these guys down. One of them was like, clearly has a grudge against her. he blames her for like his dad losing his job because of Nichelle's activism. Clearly, whatever business he was protesting against, uh, his father was a part of, and clearly his part was shady as fuck. So she took those guys down, without any casualties, and then she starts busting up when the cops come. And of course, like the cops are against, at least most of the cops are against her. But using her gymnastics skills, she can easily evade these guys. But like Sam and Cap said, like hopefully she has like people she can rely on, which she does. She got like friends from school, and like a big sister, and her gymnast coach is helping her out. And they showed her a laptop with video recordings, which is like dope as hell. Like a lot of heroes every once in a while need to have these kind of things to show that what they're doing is not in vain, even though they don't do this for praise. But it's like it shows and means a lot, especially for someone like Spider-Man, all the Spider people, to see things like this. Like what you're doing is not nothing. It might be small on the outside looking, or at least maybe the inside looking out. It might seem like a small thing, but it's a big deal to the people that you help, because they are alive to do good things, for other people as a domino effect. So like for Nichelle, because she's crying when she's looking at this, when she got like this one old lady who says like, Nichelle, you are not the first to take a symbol and use it as a do not trespass sign. We see you, babe. Baby. You're a light. I'll excuse your skipping church for now. And speaking of which, about taking up a mantle, not the first to take up a mantle, Nisha brought up about like Isaiah Bradley, how like, because it's well known at this point about how like Isaiah Bradley being the first black Captain America and how he wasn't appreciated and abused. And I did that I reviewed that in my, earlier in the month, Red, White, and Black, or at least Captain America Truth. Check that out in my review of that. But you got another person, this little kid, who says like, my father has priorities all over this place, properties all over the place. I can find you a temporary home whenever you need, and we'll always make sure you're fed. There's other woman, this younger woman, I think like Hispanic or Filipino or something like that. No, it just says Asian. I couldn't afford a proper security system, and the robberies were hurting my business. Thank you for petitioning to get the street lights outside fixed. My Mangjong ladies and I can be your ears and eyes. Think of it as your gossip network. Then you got this transgender woman who mentioned, it's not safe out here for black trans women. No matter what I do and where I go, there's danger. I appreciate that you hang out at bars where my girls and I go and always take care of lurkers. Keep in touch. We always know who needs help and who causes trouble. Then you got a woman and her daughter. I don't have a story, but my daughter and I have been fans of yours for years. Never missed a single gymnastics competition. You have always been a star in our eyes. It's showing that, the community, despite some authorities and ignorant pricks like this little boy who's holding up this restaurant, she has made a difference in her community. And like, people, the little guys are looking after her and it's like watching her back. And it's like, it was like a dope moment. I love this. So she's like the Captain America of Pennsylvania. Next, we meet Joe Gomez, who's the Native American Captain America, more specifically from the Chickasaw tribe. And his design is fucking badass. And it's like, if Kevin Feige is watching this, I doubt he's watching this, but like get word out that someone like Joe Gomez, and even like DC, because you got like good Native American characters that need love, because like I know his name is might be like a tinge, depending on who you ask, might be a tinge offensive. But in DC, there's, if you remember the Super Friends, there's like a Native American superhero called Apache Chief, who has the ability to grow in size, obviously from the Apache tribe. And it's like, he's a dope character. It's like, I like love Apache Chief. And it's like, you could change the name, sure, but it's like the character needs to, be represented, like, because can you imagine like the Native American tribes, like this is their Black Panthers, and just like going out to movie theaters and like making a big show of it, and like appreciation of the Native American culture, because they are the original Americans, and people sometimes forget that. So yeah, like you got two prominent comic book characters for the different Native American tribes. I'm pretty sure there's more out there if you look hard enough. But it's like, God, like I love this Native American Captain America garb, and it looks so dope. God, it's like I love the look of it. Huge fan. And I like this quote here. It's like, a cure for freedom's harms is freedom still. Helen Hunt Jackson, 1875. I thought it was funny, call like Helen Hunt. Yeah. So now they're on their way to Arizona, meeting up with Joe Gomez. And they end up figuring out, like, okay, they're going through all the speedsters that they know. There's the Wizard, who is dead currently. Then there's Quicksilver, but they mess with him. He's too proud to wear a Captain America uniform, and Cap makes a joke like, this guy's too proud, and he's going around wearing like a big lightning bolt on his chest, so it's kind of ironic. But no, they're not Arizona, it's Kansas. My apologies. So and apparently, all the while they're like driving across country, well, when they come to understand, okay, the speed demon is the only speedster that they know, so they come to the conclusion that, yeah, there's gotta be speed demon. So speed demon in Captain America costume, utilizing Cap's shield, dressed as Captain America, causing havoc, taking down like a F-16 jet in South Dakota with the shield. Then during like a 4th of July parade in Guthrie, 17 were injured while he was like running into the parade and causing injuries with people in his collision. Luckily nobody died, but in most cases, like if it was the boys, everybody would lost limbs, and guts would be all over the streets and stuff like that. So they meet up with Joe Gomez, and Joe, had an interaction with Captain America a long time ago. Cap, doesn't really recall, which is funny because like I do remember Captain America has like, because the super soldier brain, he has like pretty good recall. He would think he'll have at least a vague memory of this guy, because he saved Joe's life. It's kind of like you'll see it in like the little short adventure with Joe. It's kind of like reminiscent on, if you remember from Superman the animated series, where Superman saves forgot the guy's name who plays Steel, the superhero Steel. He saved his life, which inspired him to be, make a pseudo armor and call himself Steel, to start to save like his community, look after his community, taking off the mantle of Superman. That's kind of like reminds me of, because he was a construction worker too, but also as a near. Uh, Joe respects Captain America a lot. He actually got like a whole room with Captain America memorabilia, and he brings to Cap's attention that like you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk, and like he can sense that from him. Because at first he was like a completely skeptical about Captain America. He had like a chip on his shoulder about like, because what like the white man did to his tribe and like so forth, things like that. And it wasn't all smoke and mirrors with Steve. Cap is struggling right now because like people are, there's some people utilizing these stars and stripes to divide and like tear people apart, or at least institutions down that mean something to people. And he mentions how these stars and stripes are for everybody, and it's just like, you can appreciate why people love Steve Rogers, and it's no different what Superman would probably say the exact same thing. They pretty much cut from the same cloth. And it's like I like this line from Cap. It's like, he says, "I feel like I can do better," and it's like, God, it's like, can you be more charming? But then Joe decides to help Cap and Sam. He's suited up because he's just like his job, his day-to-day stuff. It kind of reminds me of like those Lifetime Christmas movies that like I review, which by the way you can check out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. I have got a plethora of like, because I want to do that like every year, like every once a year I take like a handful of Christmas rom-coms and like do reviews for them. It's kind of like, outside of the common, because I do like the standard Christmas movie reviews and stuff like that, like like the popular ones, or at least well-known ones. But I like to throw into the mix some Christmas Hallmark movies and Lifetime movies, just to mix it up a bit, because not many people do those. Because he's like the kind of like one of those guys in those movies that's like the local handyman and stuff like that. So he fixed things, in his neighborhood, sometimes for free. And he's like an engineer. He used to work in construction as well. And he's something to help, with the painting and stuff like that. So he's like a dope guy, man. He mentions about this like rally where this other Native American man who's running for governor here in Kansas, and he was already getting like death threats. Now is actually something's coming after Sin and what's his name is coming after him now, but they managed to get jumped on. And they're getting jumped on a lot here, but yeah, in the process, Joe gets injured. But while taking him to like the nearest ambulance that's close by to the rally, they managed to stop Speed Demon. Thanks to Bucky, who shows up and deflects the shield that was being tossed at the governor candidate, and uses his arm to block it to keep from decapitating him. And like Bucky shows up when he finds out about like what's been going on, so he comes in. So now we got like another Cap shows up. We all know about Bucky, so we don't need to like hash out his backstory like that. Chickapoo, not Chickaboo, Chickapoo tribe, or is it Kickapoo? Yeah, it's Kickapoo tribe. My apologies. So notes from Cap and Sam about uh, Joe. Uh, his Kickapoo name is Ch- yeah, Chitaska, which means thunder that jumps across the sky, from the Thunder Clan. He's 43 years old, from the Kickapoo Reservation in Kansas. Construction worker and handyman who took up the mantle of Captain America to protect his reservation. Champions the overlooked and underserved in his community and elsewhere. Notes from Steve. Everybody we met had only nice things to say about this guy. Seems like he fixed an air conditioner or a leaky sink for about everyone in his street. On his street. Notes from Sam. Giving you any ideas, Steve? You gonna come over and fix my air conditioner? And Steve, as if I know how an air conditioner works. It's like a little funny. It's nice to have the funny little jabs or just jokes about like Steve being like, okay, you miss a lot over the years, so it's like certain adventures you're probably not too privy to. And it's also a funny moment where it's like, and it shows up again in like the next issue where it's like Sam brings up first about like, why are you using a piece of paper? Why don't you use your phone to store all this like stuff? And Cap was like what do you? I mean, Sam asked like, what do you even use your phone for? And Cap was like, I use my phone to call people. And it's sort of like, yeah, it's like he's not into like the like mess around with his phone like everybody else to use it for every little thing. It's like, I have a phone, yes, I have a cell phone, but I use it to call people. That was the point of the invention. And then like you hear Bucky in the next issue bring it up like, you know, like, why don't you use your phone to like restore all this? And this is the same guy who grew up in the same era as him, and he's a little bit more like adaptive to like the ways of technology than his friend. But it's like, and like this gets on, and Steve rolls his eyes like, you too, Bucky. And it's so funny. And it's like you forget these guys are like in their like early 100s, but they look like they easily in like the late early 40s. I mean, like late 30s, early 40s. But you see like a moment where like a long while back, you know, Joe going to his construction job, and like, you know, he's skeptical about like, you know, the idea of Captain America, and he doesn't know, you know, the person. He only seen like, you know, stuff that he sees from like media and stuff like that, and you think like he's just same old white guy, and like he don't fight for everybody. And it's like until one day, Bulldozer, one of the members of the wrecking crew, comes by and tries to destroy the building they're trying to assemble for some reason. Probably got something to do with like the owner of the building or something like that. But while trying to save his fellow co-workers, he uses the crane he has to knock Bulldozer on his butt. Well, Bulldozer comes up and try to like get him, but Joe goes on the end of the crane and trips up Bulldozer. You know, he's like a big beefy guy with like super strength. He somehow trips the guy. I know about like, you know, using somebody's momentum against them, blah blah blah, but you're still like a normal guy. You don't have super soldier strength. You somehow still trip up a guy who takes on the Hulk and Thor. You trip him up. That was a little far-fetched to me. I couldn't really wrap my mind around that little moment. But he trips up bulldoze and cause him to fall. But Joe in the meanwhile is like losing his grip on the edge of the crane, but gets saved by Cap, which kind of, after meeting the man and talking with him, he understands that it's more than meets the eye when it comes to Steve Rogers. And he inspires Joe to make his own Captain America costume and starts fighting for his people. So I thought that was pretty dope. The next issue, you get to meet this Filipino Captain America, Ariel Agbani, or Abani, who's the campus Captain America, who's from Boston, 19 years old, and you'll see her little adventure in a minute. But she's also a Captain America. You see, like, because I mentioned a few times here and there about like personal stuff where it's like my ex was half black, half Filipino, so it's like it's dope to see like a Filipino Captain America. But not only that, college Captain America. Her little story is like, her on her campus, there's like, most of the students are being harassed by those kind of like rich kids who gets away with a lot of crap because their rich parents. One guy in particular who's pretty much assaulted her college roommate and decides to take matters in her own hands. I think this is around Halloween when this happened, because go to some kind of costume party, and she makes her own Captain America costume and forms her own shield reminiscent to Cap's original triangle one from the 40s, and took matters in her own hands because this creep took her friend's phone. They had evidence showing, like horrific text messages and all this other stuff. So this party he's hosting, she, goes there, sneaks in, gets his phone, and then kicks his ass after trying to stop her, and runs out. And thanks to her friends, who also shows up in like, other variations of Captain America costumes to make her escape, and utilizing that to take it to like campus security and authorities to take down this guy, and she becomes like the Captain America on campus. I mean, really quick, brought in like about the notes from Steve and Sam about this girl. Yeah, 19 years old, from Boston. Data, a scholarship student at Hargrove University, who took up the mantle to protect her fellow students from people whose money and family connections usually shield them from consequences. Note from Sam: gotta keep a lid on her involvement if we can. I'm not sure her university would be too thrilled about her extracurricular activities. Note from Steve: they should be proud to have her as a student. Heck, I'll write them a letter if I have to. Sam: you can't write a permission slip for a vigilante activity, Steve. Note from Steve: I can try. So like, how proud, like you can hear from the words how proud Steve is of this girl, that, it's like, she should be like, getting like a medal, or at least show some like, acknowledgement of her heroic deeds from like creeps like this who uses influence to like get away with horrific crap. So anyway, the next issue, number 4, Cap still in Kansas, looking at the they're watching afar the Kickapoo tribe having like a ceremonial dance and pretty much like a party and what have you. Uh, and Cap is just like, you know, uh, you know, like acknowledges the fact that like America belongs to them. Uh, America belonged to them before it belonged to any of us. The truth is, my ancestors were colonizers. Uh, he's like, backgrounds like Irish and English. Uh, uh, and he brings up to his friends like, what gives me the right to bear the name of a land that belonged to them. Uh, you know, you know, you know, the moniker belonged to someone like Joe. And Bucky brings up like, Joe is Captain America. Uh, uh, and he brings up the fact that you even like ponder this shows how good of a person you are and why you deserve like, the right of Captain America too. And Sam brings up like, like I love you a ton, both of you. But if you're looking for validation, you're probably asking the wrong guy. You might also have been descendant of slave owners, but like Cap pointed out, like no, I looked into this. My ancestors were staunch abolitionists, but it doesn't really matter because like my feelings still like this is their America. But it's like I love that little point, that moment, because you need this kind of thing. Because like, yes, none of us really had any right to be here. Some was brought here like by force. Others just took it from the land that belonged to the Hispanic people and the Native American people, who are the true Americans. And I like the fact that like they included the dialogue like this, like the Cap and Bucky acknowledge the fact that how like what happened to these people were horrible. I mean, wearing stars and stripes of the same people who took their land and like damn near put them to extinction and enslaved others. So now they call in all. They bring it in Aaron Fisher and Ariel into the fold. So introductions are made. Like now we got like Steve, Bucky, Aaron, Ariel, and Sam. Later on, we get Nichelle being brought in. So now we getting word about this hidden facility called NORAD that's pretty much housing this big blue box is holding for some reason. I'm pretty sure it's probably mentioned in like a different comic run, but it's like this special prison that's holding some kind of consciousness of Adolf Hitler, and that's the whole point of this like of Sin bringing in this other Nazi called Commander Krieger to liberate their Fuhrer, at least some variation of him. And it's like a funny little moment where it's like Ariel and Aaron are playing video games, and it's like a fighting game when she's picking Captain America and he's picking Iron Man, and it's like it'd be kind of funny if they was playing Marvel versus Capcom, but they didn't want to use the likeness of any Capcom characters, so they just used two Marvel characters. I thought that was pretty funny. So they get word Nora's being broken into, so they bring in U.S. Agent to help, because he and Steve is the only people among the Captain Americas, or they as a running joke with it's pronounced Captain's America. U.S. agent John Walker and Steve Rogers is the only two people who knew about NORAD, and keeping it under wraps as possible. So somehow the bad guys figured out where he's being held up. So they all come together to get to NORAD to stop this. And Krieger thinking like, okay, it's gonna be easier now to take over now that people like America are fighting amongst themselves, because we took the wrong ploy last time where they end up fighting back when we try to take it from them. But now it's kind of like with my review of Captain America: Winter Soldier, where like Zemo infiltrated Shield and seeded Hydra again, and it's like we used the wrong tactic. We cannot force our ideology on everybody, or take their freedom, or do it by force. What we have to do is have them beat each other on the inside on out, and we just pick up the scraps. And so that's where they utilize this tactic. Okay, we dismantle, have everybody fear the symbol of Captain America, fear Captain America in general, to prevent anybody rising up like Steve Rogers and disrupt the ideals of what he stands for. So they try to stop Krieger, but they end up failing. But they still manage to capture Sin and Speed Demon, who was broken out of his hypnosis. But Krieger managed to run off with, Hitler. Oh, and I want to bring up about there was a discussion John and Steve had earlier on the way to NORAD about this this little theory called Bucky brought up Steve is the other end of what's called the Godwin's law. John brings up is this idea that the longer a conversation goes on, it will inevitably involve Nazis. And Steve don't think that's fair. Because he fought plenty of people that weren't Nazis. Batroc the Leaper wasn't a Nazi. And then Aaron brings up Batroc worked for Zemo, who used to run Hydra, which was also once run by Red Skull, which was who was mentored by, and cat okay, I get it. It's I wonder if that's really a theory, the God in a Godwin's theory about a longer the conversation goes, eventually it will end up with Nazis. I thought it was a fine little dialogue between these people. While they got Sin captured, she doesn't believe they got the cojones to torture her, at least not in ways that she's already trained herself to overcome. But that's when John Walker stepped in, I got this, guys, because he has no problem, even though it mentioned in the next the last issue about Cap's issues with torture and what have you, and John brings up don't worry, it still fell in line with the Geneva Convention and all this other stuff where it's rule of law, as far as how interrogation is concerned, and how far you can push it when it's still within the confines of the law. So he still met that expectation. So in a final issue, issue number 5 of the United States of Captain America, where they eventually figured out where, uh, thanks to one of the soldiers who was who was monitoring the prison where Hitler's conscience was being held up. This guy named uh, this soldier named Merrick. I think it's Jeremy Merrick, who eventually also took up, after this adventure, took up the mantle of Captain America, who fights for like the soldiers coming back home for wars, horrific stuff, and like prevent them from being exploited when they get home. And so he fights for those soldiers. But thanks to like Speed Demon's ignorance, he ends up, because he wants to get revenge on Sin for manipulating him into fighting for fucking Nazis. But she ended up breaking loose, and Cap calls in to Bucky to get Ariel and Merrick to come and back them up. But the facility is running some kind of like radio loop thing, and while trying to break into the facility, they trip a booby trap, cause an explosion, which they didn't kill them, but they knocked them out. Which by then, Hitler and Krieger, and Hitler comes in like a little smoky little apparition because he's like just a consciousness, and they can take a human form or whatever. And he usually to like take any form, like this like reporter that spouts all this BS on television, which Cap made like a commentary. It looks like he was looking directly at the reader about how like people like this who just spout like whatever nonsense just to feed like a machine and what have you, like it's all like bullshit. Matter of fact, let me find that again, because I want to give like read the right line to that, because it was so like it was so good. A second. Yeah, this one must be in 3. 1 second. Where is it? 1 second here. Must have been in the last issue. Oh, there you go. It wasn't the last issue. Maybe I just want it to be hate, because he confused it to being hate. He convinced that it must be hate monger, which is like the villain name for the consciousness of Hitler. Maybe I want it to be hate monger, because if it's not, it's just another bulldog out to tear us down in order to get folks to tear each other apart. And it was almost like he's looking right at the, like, look at this. It's almost like he's looking directly at the reader. It's like pretty much like a commentary from last year and the year before, where it's like, news outlets, mostly Fox News, mostly, who's just feeding this like, fear and hate uh, for political agendas. And well, like, you know, uh, uh, Walker, Steve, and Sam are captured, Sin tried to, or not Sin, Krieger tried to hypnotize uh, Steve into forcing him to fear the look of Captain America and like the ideals and like the country and stuff like that. But thankfully, now Bucky dressed up in his Captain America costume, which by the way, it's if you don't recall, this particular outfit, it was used after the events of Civil War when Bucky took up the mantle of Captain America, while Cap was, killed or assassinated or whatever. But clearly he's been brought back. But he's wearing his costume and he's breaking into the facility, and he brought not just Ariel, but he bringing in like a whole slew of Captain Americas, like the ones that they met and extras, which I'll be interested to know like who are these other Captain Americas. I wish there was like more short snippets of each of these Captain Americas and how they help their community, because like it shows like a Captain America for almost everybody, and like it's like how many, like I think it was like Haymarker who's like, how many Captain Americas are there? That's Captains America. And so they took down Krieger, and thanks to Merrick, who brought in the device that can seal up Hate-Monger again, the day is won. But it was trying to like corrupt Steve Rogers on camera, but now it's broadcasting, and like Bucky's saying like, you probably should say something to Steve, and Steve's like, no, I think people heard enough from me, and it's time for them to hear from you. And he points at all these other new Captain Americas or Captains America. Everybody's having a hard time like saying something, like, because like Steve's pretty good with his speeches, and it's like it's hard people to get into that kind of rhythm. But then Aaron steps up and like, this is like read this here. Hey y'all, the Captain's Network here. Seems like maybe we got off on the wrong foot, and that some of y'all might not dig us, or even a little steamed at our hijinks. Well, America's weird that way, isn't it? 50 states, millions of people, and all you gotta do is go 50 feet or 50 miles, and suddenly no one looks like you, and it feels like a completely different country or planet. Look, we get it, but isn't that also kind of amazing? Because, hey, the truth is, we've got your back. All of us. And you see this collage of all these different walks of life of people who took up the mantle of Captain America to fight, for their respective communities. And they, come together. And it's like, it's so, so dope. I love it. And like, Cap is at the this museum, Smithsonian exhibit that's supposed to, initially in the beginning of the issue 1, he was polishing it to get it ready for like for this temporary exhibit for people to like observe it and stuff like that at the museum. But now it's not just his shield is being looked at in the Smithsonian. It's every other Captain America here who has their shield put on the wall next to Steve's to be admired by everybody, because that's what America is. it's a not just one white guy with Irish and English background. It's a black woman, it's a black man, it's a Native American from the Chickapook tribe. There's a couple other black people. There's a couple of other people from like Hispanic, and there's a cowboy. There's the U.S. agent. There's a gay man. There's like a person from there's a couple of people from the military, but it's like you got like Merricks who don't know if they're right or left. I'm pretty sure like John probably would be considered like maybe like a Republican, but it's like you got like a guy fighting for the U.S. Military. You got like a biker and like you got like another. You got at least quite a few women here. And it's like this is dope. It's like this is America. Like all like America melting pot. And Captain America should reflect every one of them. And you got this Cap's in the museum, and you got this little kid, doughy-eyed little kid, and it's like you're Steve Rogers, Captain America, aren't you? And it's like, what's your name, kid? Leo. Well, Leo, yeah, I might be, but I think you might be too. In fact, I think everybody in here is. And it's like this little kid, buck-toothed little kid. It's gotta be like the most cutest little adorable little kid, and he's wearing this little Captain America outfit, and it's like, you're Captain America too, kid. And it's like, it's dope as hell. And you get a little moment with notes from Steve and Sam about Captain Jeremy Merrick, Air Force intelligence officer from Colorado, a single father Air Force intelligence officer stationed at NORAD who oversaw the hate monger research and containment program, joined the Air Force to protect fellow soldiers from exploitation. Notes from Steve: the military has gotten more complicated since I served, and it was hardly simple then. I'm glad the new kids have someone like Captain Merrick to show them the ropes and keep them out of trouble. Sam: I don't think anyone could have kept you out of trouble. Steve: I've always respected the guys who tried. Yeah, and I want to show off this here because obviously we gotta represent. Yeah, like all these Captains America. Aaron Fisher, Defender of the Destitute. Nichelle Wright, Vanguard of the Brighter Future. Joe Gomez, Champion of the Overlooked. Ariel Agabani, A Bully's Worst Nightmare. And Jeremy Merrick, Protector of Soldiers. So it's like, I love this run of Captain America. I highly recommend it. Very little that I have issue with here, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more explanation on how that hypnotizing of using the shield to hypnotize people worked. That was confusing as hell. But how they get a hold of a speed demon, like what's the story behind that? But like I said, it's like short, sweet, to the point. It's kind of like if you want to do these runs, because Captain America does have like a history of like, at least a long time ago, have a history just like Ghost Rider, where it's like his story arc gets cut short. But it's not even just him. Like there's some characters are like that, but it's short, sweet, to the point, and it's like get all done in 5 issues. I think that's how a lot of like arcs or like runs should be. It's like not drag it out for more than 10 issues unless you have like a ongoing thing, but then you should have like a separate comic book run, just like a Elseworlds, or like just like a short story talk, with this particular, like you got Captain America dealing with this, but the only other help he has is other Captain Americas or Captains America. Or like with Spider-Man, you get like a like a arc, or like Daredevil, like Born Again, it's all about him, and then you get probably like a little snippet of other superheroes that come in like cameos or what have you. But it's all about him, and he's like the focus. And it's like this is like a little like a not little, but just like a short arc, as it's like focused. So that's why I think like writers should do a lot more because it makes these things a lot more palatable and not overdoing it with the events. But that's a whole nother tangent. But the United States of Captain America, definitely check it out. Worth a read. 5 issues. You can get through in one day. But man, I love it. I love it. Highly recommend it. Celebrating 80 years of Captain America last year. So yeah. But that's right. I mean, I will eventually get to maybe like another Captain America book at some point in the future, but I wanted to cover this. It's one of my, if I have a favorite Captain America story, this is my top favorite. I love this story. And not only shows Steve Rogers, but you see other characters who took up the mantle representing as well. But anyway, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Let me know what you thought about the United States of Captain America. If you read it before, if you haven't, check it out. Like I said, just 5 issues. Then come back. Let me know what you thought. And I will see you guys at some point, because I will be the next probably in a couple of weeks, because the next I'm going back to DC, and the next well, I'll leave it a surprise. It's a nice little graphic novel, but we'll leave that as a surprise. I might be dressed up for the occasion for that comic book review, so stay tuned for that.